Hey everybody, welcome to my Labor Day special video on occupational hazards. Okay, so what am I going to be talking about? I'm going to be talking about hazards in the workplace as far as horror films are concerned, that is. So I'm going to talk about a few movies, going to try to do this quickly because I'm getting ready to have my first ever Horror Mad Libs live stream. I'm hoping a lot of you guys and gals will join me for that. I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of fun. I came up with this idea last night and thought I would just try it out in the live stream format. So let's kick this off and start talking about these movies. Now, these movies are probably pretty familiar to people that watch a lot of horror movies, so I'm probably not going to delve real deeply into the plots. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one. The first one is Chopping Mall, which of course, is about a mall, and people aren't really getting shopped in the mall. I think that was just a cool title that they used, and they could use this tagline where shopping costs you an arm and a leg. And although people aren't getting shopped, they are certainly getting attacked by these little killbots, as they're called. You can see one in the middle picture there. So basically, these young people decide after their jobs at the mall are over, they're going to sneak back into the mall and they're just going to have a big party because that's what young people do, right? They get together, they fool around and eat and drink and just have a good old time. Well, not with the killbots around. So you have the killbots attacking a lot of these kids and dispatching many of them. And then you have a few very resourceful young people or teenagers. They're supposed to be teenagers uh, who are able to pretty much overtake the killbots. So, not a slasher film per se, but it certainly makes you think so by the title, right? So, working at a mall can be hazardous to your health. Even being in a mall after hours could be hazardous to your health, evidently. Um, the next one is misery. Because why? Because being a writer can be hazardous to your health. It can be a life or death situation if you're having to deal with a crazy fan, such as Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates in Misery. And she is the number one fan of Paul Sheldon, a writer of the Misery novels, as she refers to them. And Annie Wilkes is one kooky number one fan because when she gets a chance to rescue Paul Sheldon from a car accident and rescue him from freezing to death, things go from bad to worse. He gets right out of the frying pan into the fire because Annie Wilkes is one crazy bitch. And you don't even want to begin to think about what's going to happen to Paul when Annie finds out that her beloved Misery has been dispatched within the final Misery novel. Okay. So being a writer is dangerous to your health as well. Um, being a caretaker of a hotel, namely the Overlook Hotel in the middle of winter in The Shining, can be very hazardous to not only the caretaker, but the caretaker's family. Because when the ghosts get stirred up in the Overlook Hotel, bad things will happen, as we can see here. Um, and we see the shadow of good old Jack Torrance with a bloody axe there. And we see Danny riding his little big wheel. Um, yeah. And red rum is going to happen Okay. If you don't know what red rum means, you've definitely got to watch The Shining. Both The Shining and Misery are based on Stephen King novels. Although this version of The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, veers off the beaten path as far as the novel. And I believe that's why Stephen King didn't like it for so long. And so there's The Shining. So you don't want to work at a hotel during the winter, get snowed in. Cabin fever is going to be the least of your worries. Okay. So what other job do you not want to have? You don't want to be a new psychiatrist at a mental hospital. Why? Because the inmates will think you killed their old doctor and now they have to kill you. Okay. And on top of that, there's a blackout, there's a power outage all over the city, and the mental hospital where these inmates are at is powered by electricity. That means the locks are powered by electricity. And when the power goes out, these guys escape and they come after the good old psychiatrist who they believe has killed their former doctor. And that's alone in the dark. So don't want to be a psychiatrist either, especially a new one. Not only do you not want to be a caretaker for a hotel, but you don't want to inherit a hotel, right? So this is Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. Catriona McCall's character inherits a hotel in Louisiana that just happens to be haunted by a guy who was accused of being a warlock. Okay. And very, very, very bad things happen in this hotel. Okay. So there's The Beyond. Don't want to inherit a hotel. Okay. I could say you don't want to own a restaurant, but in this case, you probably don't want to be a food critic. Okay. And you don't want to come to the Blood Diner. Why? Because the Namtup brothers will get you because they're trying to bring about the reanimation of Sheetar, this weird goddess. This is like a loosely based ripoff of Blood Feast, only better. I think this is better than Blood Feast because it's just so much fun. So not only do you have the crazy Namtup brothers, but you also have their crazy uncle who kind of tells them what to do. And their uncle, I think it's Uncle Anwar, is literally a brain and eyeballs in a jar. So yeah, definitely wouldn't be a food critic wanting to come to this little hole in the wall diner, or maybe not a hole in the wall diner, but like a 1950-ish type of diner. You don't want to go there to eat, okay? So that's Blood Diner. What other job do you not want to have? Um, you don't want to be a camp counselor at a summer camp, okay? Especially not one where Cropsey used to be the caretaker and he got burnt by some of the previous year's campers. And he is none too happy because guess what? The skin grafts just didn't take, and Cropsey is pissed. So, guess what? He's going back to camp. He's going to try to find the people that did this to him. And if he kills a few other kids along the way, that's so much the better, right? So, don't want to be a camp counselor, probably at any summer camp, okay? So, that's the burning. Another one where you don't want to be a writer, and you don't want to be a writer with a pseudonym. This again is based on the Stephen King novel. This is Dark Half. So this was directed by George Romero, And Thad Beaumont is a writer who had a pseudonym for a while. And when he had this pseudonym, whose name was George Stark, he got a little moody when he was writing under George Stark because evidently George Stark was a violent man. Well, when Thad was a little boy, they found they called it a tumor, but they found the remains of a twin inside of Thad's brain that caused him to have seizures and headaches and all of that good stuff. So now he's a grown man and he thinks all that's behind him. Well, he's put George Stark to rest, and George Stark don't want to stay down. George Stark wants to take over. So guess what? He tries to take Thad's wife out, Thad's babies out, and Thad out. And he just wants to take over for him. So it's very, very dangerous to your health to be a writer that had once had a pseudonym, because guess what? That pseudonym might come back. All right. So what else we got here? And I know I'm going through these fast, but a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to have to take that one out of the slip cover because that'll get me kicked off of YouTube. So what else don't we want to be? We don't want to own a health spa where the owner's crazy ex-wife who committed suicide is wanting to come back and get revenge on people, okay, by controlling all, messing around with the computer that controls all the exercise equipment at this health spa, okay? So, yes, you will indeed sweat blood if you go to this health spa to work out. So, yeah. You don't want to work at this health spa either because bad things will happen to you. All right. What other jobs do we not want to have? You don't want to be dressed as Santa Claus at Christmas time. Because why? Because somebody might kill your ass in various gruesome ways. Okay? Because that's what happens and don't open till Christmas. You dress as Santa, you might just get your dick cut off. And I am not kidding about this. So you just got to watch this one to know exactly what I'm talking about. So don't open till Christmas. Don't be a Santa Claus. Okay. What's the next one? You don't want to work in a hospital. Okay. How many times have bad things happened in a hospital? And you especially don't want to work in a hospital in Haddonfield. Why? Because this guy will get you. Like, he's fond of going and sticking knives in nurses' backs and lifting them up off the ground till their shoes fall off. Okay. He likes to scald other nurses in a hot tub that he set over 100 degree, the water over 100 degrees. He likes strangling people. He likes stabbing people. He likes putting people on a gurney and letting all their blood drain out. I never did understand that kill, but it's pretty cool kill. Anyway, don't want to work at a hospital. You don't want to be a doctor. You don't want to be a nurse. You don't want to be an orderly. None of that. Okay. So the last one I want to talk about is you don't want to work at a grocery store, especially being a late night stalker or anything. And of course, I'm talking about intruder, where you might just get sawed up in the meat cutter. Right? You might get stabbed while you're cutting up some watermelon. You might get hung on a meat hook if you're the butcher in the grocery store, right? Okay. You might get your eyeball skewered on a spindle where you put receipts and stuff like that. It's got that real sharp pointed thing coming out of it, okay? So, yeah, don't want to work at a grocery store, especially not late at night because you never know what may happen. So, guys and gals, I went through all those fairly quickly, but this was just a fun little Labor Day special that I wanted to do. I've been on here just a little bit over 15 minutes. And then soon at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be beginning, um, and you guys might not see this till later. I will be beginning my first ever horror Mad Libs. It's going to be totally interactive. It's going to be totally fun. And I hope everybody can join me for that. I'm not sure how long we'll go on. We might do a few games and see how that goes. And then when people get bored, I'll get the hell out of Dodge and I'll see you guys next time. But as I always say, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for now. And I will see everyone on the flip side. You guys have a great rest of your Labor Day weekend or holiday. And I'll see you next time.